I've been in here about the same amount of time. I came to Iowa State in January of 1979 and have been here ever since. And for me personally, it's been an extraordinary career path. I've met so many wonderful people at Iowa State, but also throughout the state of Iowa. And it's just been, again, an extraordinary experience. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. Well, there's a beautiful slide up here on the wall behind me showing what is a photo of Camp Week at the Knoll. And we decided at the end of the spring semester that we really needed to say thank you. Thank you to the community. Thank you to our faculty and staff that were on the front lines during the last academic year, really addressing the critical issues that were happening every single day. And I would say that same thank you to each and every one of you, because I believe that we've all made it through COVID as well as we have so far, because of your willingness to take on personal responsibility for your health and safety and to care about your community's health and safety as well. So a big, big thank you. And in fact, let's give everybody a round of applause. Unfortunately, COVID's not quite done. I was on a call with my senior leaders this morning that includes our health team, our testing team, so many different teams at Iowa State to help us address issues related to COVID. And I got another update on where we are. But perhaps the most important statement was made by Christine Obing, who's been our COVID health person, is out at the College of Veterinary Medicine with Jim Ross group on food safety and security. And Kristen Obing said, which some of you have been hearing, is that COVID is really moving from a pandemic and that really that personal responsibility becomes an even greater part of the solution. And that's a message I think we all have to be carrying forward. I do want you to know we're doing lots of things on campus, the things that we're allowed to do under state law or Board of Regents policy, and to help individuals find the right path for themselves as they take that personal responsibility. Last week, COVID positivity on campus was 4.57%. And anymore, you have to think, what does a positivity rating mean in this time of moving from a pandemic to an endemic? And what it really means is you have to understand the underlying numbers. So in the last week at Iowa State, we had 175 individuals who came in to be tested. And of those 175, 8 were positive. So it's much different situation than we were in last fall at this time at Iowa State University. So that's really kind of the COVID story. And instead of talking a lot more about that, what I'd like to do now is share some stories about Iowa State that you may not be reading in the headlines, right? So often the good news is underreported. So often people tell me over and over again, I didn't know that that was happening at Iowa State University. So I want to go on past the conversation about COVID and share some good news. So here's a beautiful photo. Students on campus, students engaged in education and out of classroom activities, so happy to be here. As we went through COVID, we knew what the social isolation was costing our students and how difficult that was for them, but they are back. We are working with them to encourage, I'm going to talk about COVID again. I'm sorry, I guess I cannot stop talking about it, to encourage vaccination and wearing of face coverings, but they're back, they're engaged, they're happy. The week before classes started, my husband and I went around in residence halls with our buckets of candy to welcome students to Iowa State, and just the joy. You know, there's not too many times when you just experience sheer joy. And that's what you experience when you talk to a family, their child, as they move into a residence hall at Iowa State. One young man was so happy, and he was talking to me about his experiences he'd already had just in the move-in to the residence hall. And he said, you know, where I come from, the size of my community is so small that Iowa State is 5 times the size of where I came from. But I'm so excited to be here. And those are the stories we hear over and over again. Last Tuesday night, Robert and I had the first class session of the President's Leadership class. And again, the joy in the room, the joy in the Knoll. The Knoll hadn't felt that much joy for a year and a half, but having those students there again to participate in conversations about leadership, to be hearing presentations from great leaders at Iowa State, but also from our community and around the state, it was a great evening. So we're excited to have the students back. We're excited about the size of our freshman class. We're excited that we are still a great university for out-of-state students to come to. We're seen as a very good value in higher education. We're seen as an extraordinary university for the work we do in teaching, research, and extension. Part of that value is demonstrated through the new Student Innovation Center. So this is a fabulous facility, 146,000 square feet. How many of you might have walked through the Student Innovation Center yet? So a number of you. If you haven't, take time to come over to campus and walk through and do your own self-guided tour. You will be truly amazed about what the opportunity is. So students from every major at Iowa State is going to be over in the Student Innovation Center. They're going to be creating, making, innovating. It is a great differentiator for Iowa State. And it goes along with our new brand, Innovate at Iowa State. Great things are happening in the Student Innovation Center. Dr. Jim Oliver is the leader of the Student Innovation Center, along with an individual in charge of innovation programs, Karen Kearns. So I encourage you to put that on your list of things to do, to walk over and do your own self-guided tour of the Student Innovation Center. The center was funded by the state and by private donors on about a 50-50 split. So it's a $88 million building. And so we had a lot of support from our alums who wanted to invest in this new opportunity. This next slide shows what one of the labs looks like. And this is the robotics lab and collaborative learning space. And so you can get a sense of the type of equipment that's available for students to use as they think about using their own creativity, their own curiosity. Well, in the Student Innovation Center is the Innovate 1858, which is the student-run shop. And many of the creations of students that are made in the Student Innovation Center might be sold in the shop. You have to go through a pretty serious vetting process, but you will see items made by our students along with other items in the actual store. And what you're seeing right there are something called hot cocoa bombs. Now, I don't know exactly what those are. That worries me a little bit, but it is something created by our students. I happened to be over in the Student Innovation Center last spring, just by happenstance, when the Innovations in Chocolate class was bringing down their final products. And I wish you all could have been there to see them line up on the Steptorium and to present their final innovations in chocolate. What we're doing in innovation at Iowa State University is a reflection of our great history and how we've always been about innovation and entrepreneurship, but we truly are lifting this up all across the university. Our faculty, our graduate students and postdocs through their research, and our undergraduates as well in the curriculum and outside of the curriculum. Well, this is Dr. Bhaskar, and I'm going to use my notes. Dr. Bhaskar Ganapathy Subramanian. And Bhaskar, I'm going to go with his first name. Bhaskar is leading the new National Science Foundation and USDA funded Institute of Artificial Intelligence that is focused on precision agriculture. This is a big deal. It's a $20 million grant from those two federal funding agencies and will make a big difference in Iowa and the Midwest as we think about precision agriculture and how we use artificial intelligence to move forward with opportunities. A partner in that really, although a separate project, is Dr. Zhang. And Dr. Zhang is responsible for leading an effort on broadband rural access. So access to rural areas in the Midwest for broadband. And I promise you that artificial intelligence doesn't work without good broadband access. And so the two really are very much complementary, and the opportunities they're going to have for all of us. Again, a $16 million grant funded by the National Science Foundation and other industry partners as well. Here's a photo of Dr. Aaron Sado. Dr. Aaron Sado is a professor of chemistry and also a member of the Ames Laboratory, one of the 17 National Department of Energy laboratories in the nation. And he is busy looking at how you can transform plastic waste, of which you all know we have a massive amount of plastic waste in the world, into renewable resources of different kinds. And he just received a $12.8 million grant from the US Department of Energy for his work on how we manage and reuse plastic waste that we all create every day. Well, last week, I was with a group of folks, as you can see up there, celebrating a new ribbon cutting for a company at the research park. And this is a company called Pivot Bio. This is a startup by a young man that was actually a graduate from the University of Iowa. And he did this startup company out in Silicon Valley of California. But it's how microbes can be used around plant roots, corn, to really create the fertilizer needed for that corn crop, or to reduce the amount of fertilizer needed for application on a corn crop. And he knew he needed to be closer to his customers. He knew individuals here in Iowa through the Ames Seed Capital, the group that funds new startups. And so they came to establish a presence at the ISU Research Park. Right now, Pivot Bio is valued at $2 billion and was recently featured in Forbes magazine. The research park, something started a long time ago, but something that continues to grow in its importance, not only for the connection to Iowa State University, our faculty, staff, and students, but also for how it helps lift up opportunities for the state of Iowa. Just recently, the research park added 12 new tenants. And they don't like me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The research park is almost full. So then we have to start thinking about other ways to welcome new startups to Iowa State, to the ISU Research Park. Well, here's a fabulous photo of the most recent addition to Ryman Gardens, and this is Sycamore Falls. And this is a wonderful new garden at Ryman Gardens. And you can see that tower there, and it really speaks to sustainability. So the tower was built using wood from the ISU Wood Recycle Program. So when a tree falls down at Iowa State University, and if we think back a little more than a year ago now with the derecho, we had a number of trees fall down. Those trees are harvested, they're milled and stored and used for various projects. And one of those projects is in fact Sycamore Falls. So I encourage you to go out, take a look at this newest garden and see just how beautiful it is. Of course, Sycamore Falls was funded in part by the wonderful friends, Roy and Bobby Ryman, and many, many other donors to Ryman Gardens. So another great addition to Iowa State University. Well, I should bring Jamie Pollard up now to speak about the next slide. But he's saying no. I didn't think he could say no to me, but I'll just say we're excited. We're excited about the football season, and we're excited about this new facility, the Student Performance Center. really, I'm going to get this right, Jamie. You can help me. The Stark Performance Center. Okay, I'm good. This is a place where all of our student athletes, not just our football players, can come for their meals, to have the appropriate nutrition that they need to be successful, for their academic assistance that they receive, and other programs of support from the athletic department. This is truly the vision of Jamie Pollard, and we're so pleased to see that it's completed and will be celebrated very soon through Jamie's efforts, and just a fabulous new facility. You can see the stripes there on the building, and that reflects back to Jack Trice and the first African-American student athlete. So we're so pleased to be able to see the completion of this project. Well, next, a project that is underway is the National Pan-Hellenic Council Plaza. So as we talked about just a moment ago, Jack Trice was Iowa State's first Black student athlete. And did you know that he was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity? Did you know that George Washington Carver, another famous individual at Iowa State, was also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha? And these are the historically Black sororities and fraternities known as the Divine Nine. And we thought it was important at Iowa State University to have a place where we recognize these historically important sororities and fraternities and their support for our multicultural students at Iowa State. This is an artist rendering of what that will look like. It is on the corner, essentially over by the Memorial Union. So think about that next time you're walking around campus too, and it's all fenced off, but you can see exactly where this will be in the future, and it'll be completed in the spring of 2022. Well, other good news, we announced last week the completion of the campaign. What a great achievement by our ISU Foundation, and we have a number of our foundation staff members in the audience today, the great work they did, all the great work of individuals at Iowa State that contributed and helped lead the campaign. But a few data points up there, you can see $1.542 million was raised, $500 million directed for student support. That included 56,000 donor-funded scholarships. 148 new funds were established to support faculty positions, and $275 million was raised for new or revitalized facilities like the Student Innovation Center or the Jardine Addition, another place you should walk through on campus when you have time, or the Stark Performance Center. We are so excited to see the success of the campaign and what it means to Iowa State University for our future. We will only be successful as a university as our alums, our friends, our partners continue to invest in the future of Iowa State. So there's a quick overview, the good news that you may not read in the newspaper. Those aren't the headlines. I don't think you normally see in the Ames Tribune or down at the Des Moines Register, certainly not. But I'd be happy now to answer some questions. I could talk about Iowa State all day, but you may have some questions that are of interest to you, and I'd love to hear what your questions are. What would you like to talk about? George?
Thanks, Wendy. One of the challenges that you have been facing is reduced support from Iowa State government. Our legislature has really let higher education down compared to last year, compared to 20 years ago, 2020, 2001. The Iowa we've lost $63 million to the Regents University, 63 million. And that doesn't include any correction for inflation or anything like that. Your budget continues to go up. Yet we're on the downhill slide, and want to ask you what we can do to, the problem for the students is growing. I mean, tuition is going up. That's your only other big source of income other than the legislature. So what can we in the community do to turn this around?
Great. George, thanks for that question. And that was not a setup. I did not ask George to ask me that. So I just want to clarify that. And right, George? George cares about higher education. Everyone should care about higher education because it makes a difference for individuals, but more importantly, it makes a difference for communities and for our society as a whole. Higher education, and especially the land-grant universities, it's what made this country great. The opportunity for individuals to come and study, to learn a career, to learn how to make a life for themselves. And we need to keep investing in higher education. But there truly is a movement across this nation to say that higher education does not provide a return on investment, that higher education is not needed. Just the other day, I happened to be in a conversation with an individual that said, well, isn't it true that Iowans graduating from high school could go out and make your average salary of your graduates without any additional education? Isn't that the case? And luckily, there was a young student there with me in this conversation. And I made some comments about, well, we really don't like to look at just averages or median salaries, and made a few other comments. But this young student said, it's not about the starting salary, is it? It's about the opportunity. It's about the opportunity to go on, get advanced degrees, to grow in your career, and to have opportunities in the businesses that you go to work for. So let's not talk about starting salaries. Let's talk about lifetime earnings. And so, boy, the fellow that asked the question looked like, you know, he was really back on his heels. And so then I wanted to hug the student, but knew that wouldn't be appropriate. But anything we can do to talk to individuals that you have influence with, that you can carry this message, that you believe still that there is a reason for a public investment in higher education. That's what's needed. It's to carry that news back to individuals that think higher education should just be about a private investment. That is not what this country was about. We believed in an educated populace, and that's what we should still believe in for the future. So I asked all of you to carry that message when you're talking to your state legislature or to other members of the legislature, the Iowa legislature, especially those that are in leadership positions that are truly making the decisions about our budget. I will also tell you that I've been at the university a long time, as Paul already told you that. But I've never seen such a contentious time in terms of people being polarized on every issue. Lots of different things are being discussed. It's almost like the Vietnam era time. And that's disconcerting to individuals that are in the legislature. They think we should be able to manage that better than we do. But they need to understand that students and different groups on campus are all going to have lots of different viewpoints, and that we need to let them experience that. Everybody deserves to have their free speech. Everybody deserves to have the opportunity to engage in respectful conversations with each other, regardless what the topic is. That's what we believe in Rotary, right? So, but it is a contentious time on campus, and that leads to frustration with us. Why do you have this speaker on campus? Why are student groups saying this or that? So it's just a very contentious time. Well, George, that might have been it. Oh no, here we go.
Hi, welcome back. A few years ago, enrollment reached an all-time high, and since then there's been a few policy changes here and there that have changed the whole outlook there. when it was happening, there's a lot of good things happening at the university and in the community.
Mhm.
And I just wonder if there's any movement to try to increase that enrollment again to get back to where we were or to move forward.
So back in 2016, we probably were at the peak of our enrollment at Iowa State University. And a number of things started to happen over time in terms of what was the opportunity to be able to maintain that or to even grow that. And then we started to see conversations about international trade and what was going on, and did we like China or didn't we like China? And we started to see a pretty dramatic drop in our international student enrollment, which is a tragedy for Iowa State University. And we believe also for the students that would have come. Our international enrollment has not recovered, even though we're doing lots of very innovative things to make that happen. We're going to keep working on rebuilding that. We're also doing a number of things to change how we manage enrollment at Iowa State. And that is, one is back in 2019, I moved enrollment management under the hand of the provost and the deans of the academic colleges. I thought it was important that the programs that were being developed by faculty, department chairs, and deans needed to connect directly with their customer, the students. And that has paid dividends in terms of how we're managing enrollment right now at Iowa State. So much closer connection between, again, the faculty developing programs and majors and our students, the customers. So we're very excited about that. We've also changed quite a bit in terms of our use of social media for marketing and how we are engaged differently with international high schools. So we'll see what is possible in terms of further recovery, but it is an uphill battle for a whole set of reasons, and we could have a 2-hour seminar on that. But we're sure working on it. Again, we feel like we're going to have a very strong freshman class, and we'll measure that on the 10th day of classes, which will be Friday, and then we'll have information the following week about where we ended up in our enrollment this year. Anything else today? You're gonna be oh, good. Sure. Somewhere.
Those were really important questions, and thank you for asking them. Maybe a more fun one. One of my favorite things on campus that's new is the creamery.
Yes.
Want to talk a little bit about the new ISU creamery?
Yes, that's great. So I'll ask my own question then. How many of you have gone over to the creamery? So excellent. What a good, but not enough of you. So if you want to go over to the creamery, somebody should help me with this, but I think they're open from 10 to 3. Anybody agree with me? And you can get the most delicious ice cream. Dr. Stephanie Clark is the faculty member in charge of the creamery. Last week on campus, we had Soy Fest. And we celebrated soybeans and our partnership with the Soybean Association. And the creamery made a special ice cream just for that event, made out of different components of soybeans. And on top of every serving were chocolate covered soy nuts. I thought I was in heaven. So lots of opportunities to go over to the creamery. And then if you ever stop by dining services, I hope you have some gelato, because I think they have gelato just as good as you could get in Italy. So if you can't go to Italy this year, go get some gelato at dining services. So that's a fun question. Food is always my favorite topic, Lisa, so great.
Dr. Wintersteen, so what is the ripple effect that you can see now from having had the hybrid classes from last year to in classes this year?
Well, another long seminar we can have on that topic, but I'll begin by saying more than a decade ago, our faculty started doing flipped classrooms. So they would say to the students, the lecture is going to be online, and then you're going to come to class for the discussion. And we think your learning will be enhanced in this kind of approach for this class. And so we've been doing kind of hybrid classes for a long time at Iowa State University. And there are real opportunities in how you can use technology to enhance learning. And at Iowa State University, we have what's called the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, CELT, and they are on the cutting edge of helping faculty do different things with technology, different approaches in the classroom. We are always going to be a residential campus. We have a beautiful campus. When I talk to especially young women that came to Iowa State to study, I will say, so why did you decide to come to Iowa State? And they'll talk to me about their major. So that's good. That was the first thing. But then they say, and then I came and visited, and the campus is so beautiful. I thought, this is where I want to spend my time. So we are a great residential campus. We're going to continue to be that, but we'll do more in online education than we have done in the past. We have some nationally, globally known programs that are delivered online. And so we'll probably do more of that too because of our experiences. Another thing that happened as a result of COVID is for the very first time, we actually had a winter term. And that was stunningly successful. Our students love the opportunity to actually be taking courses during that winter break, give them a step up on some courses that they needed to have for graduation. And they just loved it. And of course, those were all delivered virtually. So lots of opportunities, but in the end, it all comes down. We think our faculty love being in the classroom. So whether it's a virtual classroom, but probably more likely an in-person classroom, they love the student interaction. That's why they're at the university. They're also great in research or engagement and extension and outreach, but our faculty love their engagement with the student. Yeah.
Could you comment about the progress of the veterinary diagnostic lab and how it's going?
Excellent. So they have a big hole in the ground and the concrete forms have been poured and maybe more than that. So they're doing the most expensive part of the veterinary diagnostic lab right now. And so that's phase one will be built and done. And we're now in discussions about how do we get phase two funded. So that is another legislative issue. We would like another $50 million from the state to finish up the veterinary diagnostic lab. And so we're going to be working on that real hard. I have to take this moment, though, to say, I hope you all know the role that the veterinary diagnostic lab played during COVID. Does everybody know that? Should I tell a few people raise their hand? Anyway, if they hadn't been there to take their robotic equipment over to the state hygienic lab, we would have been in a terrible position. So with the veterinary diagnostics lab, robotic equipment, they were able to go at the state hygienic lab from doing 100 tests a day to doing 2,000. That was a big deal. I'll pass that on. So great. Well, maybe that's it. It's such a, oh, we got one more over there.
Thank you. Could you speak to your involvement and what you hope to accomplish with the Big 12 Expansion Committee? Sorry, you can't get out of here without that one.
And if you would like a comment on that, you could contact the Big 12 office. Now, what I'll say is that we have the nation's best athletic director here at Iowa State University. Yeah. And I feel strongly that we're going to do our very best to work our way through the situation we're in. You know, the other day I was sitting at home and I said to my husband, I hate Texas and Oklahoma. And he said, you can't say that. You can't say you hate. You can't. And I said, well, why not? It seems like in this particular situation, it'd be okay. And he said, no, you cannot say that you hate them. And so anyway, so I'm working on that. It'll take some counseling. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you can take it. Thank you so much. I appreciated all the positive things that you shared. I would also like to point out that most of the things, my Innovate 1858 has been on our list to visit for a long time. We love the creamery. I was walking, my husband didn't take me inside, Jamie, but we walked the plaza of the new, and it's incredible. I am so excited to experience it on game day, but without anybody there, it's incredible. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for just shedding light on all those positive things, and we appreciate it. She's already signing her book for the 2-year-old well baby check. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we will finish with the 4-way test. Of the things we do and say, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?